This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great to have you with us. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis. Got a busy show today as the Olympic break is mercifully here for the Winnipeg Jets and their fans. Ugly loss last night to the Montreal Canadiens to finish up the pre-Olympic portion of the schedule. I think everybody needs a break right now, and I am fired up for the Olympics, as I'm sure many of you are. Our pal Mike McIntyre is in Italy and is going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour for the latest from the Olympic Games. We're obviously going to have to get to last night's game. We'll do that with Ken Weeb, and obviously we'll hit on it right off the top of the program. A little later on, we'll have our pal Joe Piscuchi coming on. I wanted to bring Joe on just to remember the great career of Peter Young here in Winnipeg and Manitoba as the longtime sports director of CKY, being involved in Winnipeg Jets hockey and the Canadian Football League and more. And, of course, get Scooch's thoughts on the Jets at the break, their current predicament, as well as the upcoming Olympic Games, in particular the men's Olympic hockey. A little later on, Pat Gregoire will join us. We'll get into the slate tonight in the National Hockey League with our final night of Cool Bet lines, and then transition over to the Olympic Games. Do want to remind you, our Super Bowl extravaganza for WST winners is going to go tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Myself, Pat, Jake, Connor producing. I think we're going to bring Connor in. We may very well go and run it back with another Super Bowl prop draft. I think that's the way it's going to run down. So that'll be a lot of fun, a little fun internal competition. We'll hit a ton of the bets for the big game on Sunday. So join us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, I do want to thank all of our sponsors, of course, CoolBet, the Winnipeg Jets. Shout out to everyone that came and joined us right till the bitter end last night in the WST section, up in section 316. Certainly wasn't the game or the result that we wanted to. We had to sit through some ole-olaying, which we'll get to in a minute as well. But always appreciate everyone coming out. And it certainly was a lot of fun to see everyone. Just would have wished that the game wouldn't have turned the way it did after about 10 minutes of the first period, and the result would have maybe been a little bit different. Although the Habs fans were happy, the Tankers were happy. At the end of the day, I mean, when it comes to the result of the game, I mean, in the predicament the Jets were in, losing, getting 0 points, big picture, draft pick, blah, 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 all that, probably good. But, I mean, if you're in the building last night, doesn't make you feel a lot better that just the way that all went down. And we will get to that in some of Scott Arneal's comments as well coming out. I also want to thank, of course, the gang at Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, the St. B Mega Millions Lottery, Uptown Alley, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center and Canadian Club, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, and we'll get to a why not question of the day from Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Let's get her going. Welcome to everybody in chat, and welcome to you, Michael Remis. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the highlight of the game last night, that Ruben Jet Dog that we had pregame. Oh, I felt a lot better when I went home because we had that pregame Ruben Jet Dog.
Those things are so big. And whatever, if you haven't had, I mean, the Jumbo Jet Dog, a truly elite. The team may have not be elite this year, far from it. That hot dog is, I will put that up against any dog. And that's just a regular Jumbo Jet Dog. So I pop in and I see Remis at the concession stand. And he says, hey, I'm going to try a half Reuben Jet Dog, unless you want to split one. I'm like, yeah, I would like to try that. So We
Yes.
got the Big Daddy. We each took half of it down. It was 11 out of 10. I cannot. And thank God this is not, because I'm almost embarrassed that I hadn't tried this earlier this year. I think I'd had a couple Jet Dogs, but just got the regular one with the fried onions. If you like a Reuben and like the Jet Dog, this thing is heaven. And, they're so big, but I will admit, I had half of it, Remis. I could have easily had another half just because it was so good. That was certainly the highlight of the game. The first star of last night, from my perspective, the Reuben Dog in the 300 level of Canada Life Center.
It was very good. I kept thinking about it as I was watching half arena filled of Canadiens fans singing "Ole, Ole." But yeah, it was a great dog. Added some onions, little mustard, little pickle. Great pregame dog.
As far as the game went, and listen, to be honest, I'm gonna cut to the chase in just a minute and get to Arnie's comments afterwards, and we'll hear from them. But as far as the game went, the Jets looked like they got shot out of the cannon, and the Habs weren't aware that it was a 6:00 start last night. Beautiful goal from Kyle Connor to get things going. And so many chances in that first sort of 12 minutes or so of the first period, Reem. Vlad Nemesnikov set up Nino Niederreiter. He couldn't score. Nino Niederreiter set up Vlad Nemesnikov. He couldn't score. Kyle Connor beat Montembeault cleanly off the inside of the post. That game could have easily been 3 or 4-0 before the Montreal Canadiens woke up. Unfortunately, the Jets weren't able to get more than one. And the next thing you know, this Habs team that has taken so many steps over the course of the last couple of seasons was right back in it. What was it? The Oliver Kapanen, a rookie who, I'll be honest, I didn't know much about. We talked to him with Sean Starr yesterday. Kind of paid more attention to him last night. What a young player he is, and not a guy that's getting a lot of attention. I think that was his 18th goal of the season in his rookie year. So, it's 1-1. You feel like you should be in a much better situation. Tell me that doesn't sound familiar, talking about the 25-26 Winnipeg Jets. And then the rest of the way, the Jets just sort of, wilted is the best way that I can put it. Lane Hudson had a brilliant goal. He scored 2 in, a minute 15? And at that point, it was 3-1. You sort of know where it was going. Didn't like some of the body language in the second half of the Winnipeg for the Jets. They pulled the goalie with 6 minutes left in the game, down 3. Had a million chances, couldn't bury. Got a power play and got 6-on-4, couldn't bury. And finally, the final empty netter went in, and it was the final nail in the coffin for the Winnipeg Jets. In a lot of ways, Remo, there's you can kind of take last night's game, and it in a lot of ways resembles the entire season. A nice start, first little bit, kind of like the Jets' first 12 games when they were 9-3. And then things didn't go their way. They had no answers. And at the end, you look at the scoreboard, and they weren't even in it.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes was amazing. I was like, man, we had Sean Starr on yesterday pumping up Montreal's tires. I was like, oh, they must be tired from a back-to-back. They played in Minnesota the night before. I think Jets are out shooting them 9-0. But they only had the one goal to show for in the power play goal. They looked awesome, snapping the puck around. Eventually Kyle Connor scoring his 25th of the year. And then, they had chances to add a bigger lead, Niederreiter and Nemesnikov, and they didn't score. And I said to the guy beside me, Bobby B's grandson, part of our ticket group, us, I said, this feels like a game where the Jets outplay them, but all it takes is one goal, and Montreal's right back in it, and then Montreal scored, and they scored the quick 2, and that was kind of it. The Jets haven't really been the comeback team this year that they were last year. And, did they really have any chances in the second period? I thought the third period was better, but I don't know. Maybe Montreal was playing a little prevent defense. It was a tough watch there in the second, especially with half the arena of Montreal. It was crazy. And you know what? It's not just Winnipeg. It happened in Ottawa, happened in Buffalo. We just had half, Toronto fans in Calgary this week. When you have a team that's, first of all, playing really well, has a lot of exciting young players for the first time in a while, a team like that, like the New York Yankees, they have fans everywhere. Dallas Cowboys, same thing. Toronto, Montreal. So that's what it is. And the Jets the Jets, they're out of the playoffs. They're in the bottom of the standing. So I don't really blame Jets. I can't really fault Jets fans for saying, "Hey, I'll sell my ticket to a Montreal fan and make some cash."
Yeah, well, and not have to sit there and watch your team get your ass kicked and have people olaying around you for the last hour of the game. I'll get to that in a minute. We're going to play Arnie's comments, and then that will be addressed in a moment. But let's get to the actual game. Scott Arniel, took to the podium afterwards and talked about the loss to Montreal last night.
Oh, was it a minute and 30 seconds? We gave up those 2 goals there. We talked about Montreal's D being in the rush and gave up the one. There was a couple there where we got on the wrong side of people and they got in their speed game, which they do well. We did a good job in the first of containing that. Second period, we allowed them to do that a few times, and like I said, a minute and 30 seconds. It's a 3-1 hockey game.
Yeah, I mean, the second period really was the turning point overall. Jets were still in a good spot at the break, but the 2 quick goals were killers, and that was when Montreal really sort of showed what has made them this fast, high-flying, exciting young team. And unfortunately, as we've seen far too often this year, the Jets, for a brief period, weren't able to handle it, and that was the difference in the game. I mean, they did put a lot of rubber on Montembeault. Montembeault, who stunk all season long. The ability of this team to make struggling goaltenders look good or regain their confidence has been something to see this year. They did put a lot of rubber on the net, especially late in the game with that 6-minute period, with 6 attackers. Arnie was asked if he felt they did enough offensively and got enough shots.
Montembeault was good. He played well. He made some big stops. Chances ended up being what were just preliminary here. It's 14-10 us 5-on-5. I know and that's not even counting the 6-on-5 stuff at the end. But we had a lot of chances, and we should have, could have. It would have been nice to get out of that. At the end of the first period, it would have been nice to get out of that one up 1-0. But at the end of the day, we had enough offense to win that game, and just our couple of mistakes obviously went the other way, and they capitalized on theirs.
That is a familiar refrain from this season for the Winnipeg Jets. Listen, mercifully for players and the fans, we're at the Olympic break. I was saying to some friends, if you're going to have a miserable season as the Jets are going through right now, maybe this is the best year to have it, because we do have this break where we can kind of get away from the struggles of the home team, lock in on Team Canada, the Olympic Games, best on best hockey. I think everyone sort of needs it right now, but Arnie was just asked about, the predicament of his season and obviously the upcoming time away from the rink for the Winnipeg Jets.
There's been so many ups and downs this year, and moments where it looked like we got our game going, and I like what we've been doing for the last 2-3 weeks here. But this is now a stretch where take whatever it is, a week, whatever, get away, whether you're going family somewhere, just get your mind away from the game and reset, refocus. Obviously when we get back, it's 29 games in 51 days. And it's coming every other night, so it's going to be a lot of work in front of us. So really just told the guys after the game there, just, obviously they got to look after themselves and going to have to do some side conditioning, which they will do. They're athletes and they recognize that, but it's just getting prepared. When we come back, it'll be a little bit of a mini training camp. A lot of things you get to work on, specifics that we haven't been able to work on here because of the schedule. So, and then we start out in the road, and what we see a lot of the teams that they're above us in the standings, especially early on the first 2 weeks. So that's the time for us to make hay. We got to win hockey games.
So here we are at the break. For any of you that were holding out hope that maybe there could be some sort of a miraculous turnaround, I don't know how last night could not be any more of a final nail in the coffin. I've sort of been out since New Year's. Really, those losses to Vegas and Edmonton after Christmas to me was was kind of when the team was donezo, and of course an 11-game losing streak when you were already in the situation that they were in sunk the season. I mean, I think we all know that. But as far as where they sit today after last night's game, overall standings in the league, the Jets tied with the Calgary Flames, I guess for 28th, 29th in the league. They're 1 point behind the Chicago Blackhawks. The Jets and Flames do have games in hand. You got the Rangers, the Blues, and the Vancouver Canucks as the bottom 3 teams in the league. This is, listen, I hate to say it, but we're going to be coming back. The focus for this hockey club is going to be on 5 games before the trade deadline, seeing what Kevin Cheveldayoff and his staff can do to move out players on expiring contracts, potentially some players with some term left on their contract, open up some spots for potentially some younger players from the Moose, and maybe bring in some other players, younger players, give them a chance with the focus on next year. Because I hate to tell you, folks, if you weren't already there, it is next year time. And when we come back after the trade deadline, we're probably going to be screwing around with that draft lottery simulator every day on Winnipeg Sports Talk until the picks are made in Buffalo at the end of June. But listen, lots was made of the crowd last night. And I was talking about it yesterday. It was going to be interesting to see, what the Habs contingent was like last night. Now, as Remis mentioned earlier, this is not a new thing. I mean, unless you've only been paying attention to the Jets and going to games for the last 4 years or so, you might have been surprised by last night. But, I mean, dating back to the first game where the team came back in 2.0, there was a ton of Habs fans in the building. Now, it wasn't anything close to what it was last night. But, I mean, if you look over the game, year 2, 3, 4, 5, I mean, it was very similar to a Toronto game. Now, the Leaf fans come in as if they've won 5 cups in a row. I mean, they're just delusional. But they show up, and they're a pain in the ass, and it's annoying if you're a Jet fan. We talked before about, people selling their tickets or going and actually stepping up for the team. Like, the reason why it seemed like it was so heavily weighted to the Habs last night is because of what happened in the game. I mean, it wasn't that way. It didn't feel that way in the first period where the Jets were skating circles around them and had all those chances. But when the game turns the way that it did, listen, the Habs fans were pumping their chests out. And listen, there was way more of them this year. That team had been one of the jokes of the National Hockey League for the better part of the last 5 years, up until last season when they took that big step forward. When they sucked, the Habs fans weren't coming in and pumping their chests out there like they were last night. But listen, now they're young, they're exciting, they're on the up, and, Habs fans have a lot of juice, and they're showing up again. They weren't when they were terrible. Now they're back, and they were there last night. And that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Now, the best thing a home team can do is step up, win a hockey game, and give their fans something to cheer about and send the visiting teams home upset. Well, as we just went through, that did not happen last night. So I was somewhat surprised to hear this answer from Scott Arniel when Christian O'Mell of CGOB after the game asked him what he thought about the crowd and how the very loud and heavy representation of the Habs fans enjoyed that game last night. This is what he had to say afterwards.
Is it weird to play in an environment at home when there's so many fans of the other team in the attendance and it got really loud and the other team scored?
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing. That's probably the worst I've seen in my 4 years back here tonight. That was really disappointing.
I'm going to put, before I even make my comments on this, let me put out the why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGilvery, especially to the folks that were with us in the WST section, but people at the game. Like, if you're watching this game on TV, don't worry about, you can sit this one out. I want the people that were actually there last night, that go to other games, that have been to the Leaf games before, to compare that to others. Were those comments fair from Scott Arniel? Because I couldn't help it as a ticket, as a fan that was there with the ticket at the game last night. Early on in the game, the crowd, it was just like the Leaf game. There was some go Habs go, it was go Jets go. I mean, people were jacked up when they were running around and having all those chances early on. Well, as the game turned and Montreal had the success and the Jets didn't have the answers and they weren't able to capitalize on their opportunities and the game got more and more lopsided in the Habs' favor, well, no kidding. The Habs fans were going to get louder and have a lot more fun. And Jet fans were going to be sitting down. And listen, it got to 4-1 in the third period. They're ole-oling. Like, I get it that fans got up and took off. Like, what are you going to hang around for? To have your nose rubbed in it by a bunch of Montreal Canadiens fans in the middle of a miserable season that was probably driving you crazy already? So, I mean, I just thought there was a total lack of self-awareness from Scott Arniel last night with those comments on how disappointing it was. You know what was disappointing? The way that the game went last night. It wouldn't have felt and it wouldn't have been that way if the team was able to continue what they did early, capitalize on some chances, and win a damn hockey game and send those people down, home upset that they saw their team lose. But when you see a game turn around like that, and the Habs able to do what they've been doing, to their credit, all year long, high flying, the Jets used to be this great defensive team. That's gone. And, you have some big time mistakes. I mean, 2 goals in a minute 15 that turn the game around, that juice up a very mixed crowd. Yeah, that's the way that it's going to happen. So to be real disappointed, you know what, God, I was disappointed in what the hockey team did last night in the second and third periods. I was disappointed in the way that the team allowed Montreal to get back into that game when they could have been up 3 or 4-0 early on. And I was disappointed in the body language and the way things went in the third period as they got to celebrate. So, I mean, I don't know whether he was disappointed in the fans. I don't know whether he's disappointed in maybe some Jet fans or season ticket holders that sat that one out and sold their tickets. But to be frank, this team this year has been probably the biggest disappointment in the National Hockey League. And I think there are a lot of people that, were worried about what actually happened last night and maybe didn't make it or got out early. And listen, if you don't want Habs fans ole-ole-olaying in the whole third period, beat them. And that didn't happen last night. So I don't know. I was disappointed in that last night. We were talking about disappointed. I was disappointed in what he had to say after the game last night. I mean, I think what I would have preferred to hear is, well, it's always a mixed crowd. There's always a lot of Habs fans coming in. And when you allow them to get back in and take over the game the way they did, I can understand that, it sounded a little bit louder for the visitors last night because we didn't give the home fans very much to cheer about. That's where I'm at on this one. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Huss. I have nothing more to add. I think you echoed a lot of people's feelings. The disappointing thing is the team's performance this year. And, I mean, yeah, it's, there are a lot of Habs fans. They're all cheering at the end, but the game was out of hand. I mean, if the Jets had, played the way in the second and third like they did in the first, maybe it would have been a closer game, would have been a better atmosphere. So, I mean, yeah, that's just how it's been in all the other cities. When Montreal goes. We just talked about Buffalo, Ottawa, Toronto fans travel. It's one of those big teams. So it's going to be up to the Jets to, give the home fans something to cheer about. And they really didn't last night outside the first period.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's always going to be Habs fans. There's always going to be, to me, the Leafs and the Oiler contingents. And listen, the Oilers are a fashionable team right now. A lot of kids love McDavid, and you do have people that have ties to Alberta, and they're an easy team to cheer for when they're doing so well. I mean, the whole Leaf thing is more a condition of people. I don't know how they have such passion and support for a team that has been so bad and so disappointing for so long. But I mean, listen, you don't want to be disappointed by the crowd last night. Go out and beat the visitors that come in with a bunch of fans in the building. And to be disappointed afterwards, I think the disappointment might be a little bit more to do with the performance that your team put out there right now. Because I'll be honest, if they were able to go out and kick the Habs' ass, it would not have been that same atmosphere in the third period. So let's not just throw it all on the fans that maybe have been sort of feeling it and had it and probably, to be honest, I'll just say it right now, I think need this break as much as as much as the players do right now. Listen, Mike McIntyre is going to join us. Continue with your thoughts on that in the chat. Looking forward to more of your feedback. And if you're listening on the podcast and you've got takes on that, hit us up over on X at Sports Talk WPG or IG. Hey, Mike McIntyre is going to come on and jump on with us just a minute. Got to shout out our friends at Uptown Alley. Man, it is gorgeous outside right now. If you're finally going to get out of the house a little bit and move around, maybe it's time to go out and have some fun. How about Uptown Alley at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue? 5-pin lanes, 10-pin lanes, a state-of-the-art arcade, and amazing food and beverage options for a great time just for a group of friends, birthday parties, corporate events, and more. All the information on booking events is over at uptownalley.ca. You can also give them a call at 488-0000. And if you got the itch tonight to maybe throw a few, don't forget, after 9 p.m., 7 days a week, the Bowl and Play special with 90 minutes of bowling and a $10 arcade card for just $20.49. Got to thank our friends at Rolly's Transfer. If you've got a move planned coming up this year in 2026, holler at our friends at Rolly's, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba for over 60 years. If you go to rollys.com and click on Request an Estimate, make sure to use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today over at rollys.com. And listen, hopefully we'll be smiling about Team Canada coming up. And we're going to talk to Mike McIntyre in just a minute, if maybe the Jets haven't been doing that or didn't do that last night for the home fans. But speaking of smiles, if it's time to get that grill worked on, or it's been a minute since you've been to the dentist, or you're looking for a great spot for you and your family, might I suggest our pal Dr. Terry and St. Vital Dental Center, who have been servicing generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans, and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road, with convenient free parking right behind the building. They'll take care of customers and clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, literally anything you could possibly need, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They do it all. Check them out online, stvitaldental.ca. Make an appointment, pop in, say hi to Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff, and tell them that the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And you know, it's funny. I'm looking forward to Bomber season. We'll have more on free agency next week. Of course, Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I wouldn't blame many Jet fans if they needed a little Canadian Club after that one last night, and really the first 50-odd games of this season right now. Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Bombers, great supporters of ours. We'll be sipping it in Princess Auto Stadium before too long, but in the meantime, you can pick it up at your local Manitoba liquor marts, and keep an eye out at your local beer vendor as well for 473 milliliter singles of that amazing Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale limited edition that was launched in and around the holidays. All right, let's head out to Italy and check in with our guy, Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, at the Olympic Games. Lots to get to right off the bat. Mike, what's up? How are you?
Ciao. 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 That's the only word I've learned so far. Ciao. They say it everywhere. Did you know that ciao actually means, it means both like hello, but also goodbye? Is there any other word in the English? Is there a word in the English language that has such a double meaning? Like, so
I think salut in French can be both.
Okay. I thought salut kind of meant like cheers. I didn't think it meant, but yeah, and I mean, so somebody says ciao, you literally don't know if they're coming or going, because you don't.
Well, put it this way, I don't want to talk. I heard enough French last night, to be perfectly honest. It kind of
yes.
So we'll get to it.
Ole, yeah. I was tuned in from a distance, but I couldn't hear. It was hard to hear the crowd noise as I watched online. So, but I certainly saw the comments. I mean, I've been in the building, of course, for 8 or 9 or more of those Habs Jets games, and they can get a little obnoxious. Yes. I'm with you though, Huss. Like, play better. Don't get beat 5-1. Give your fans reason to take over. I mean, we've seen that. We've seen it against Toronto, and if it's a back and forth game and both fan bases are going at it, it's great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought it didn't exactly come across all that well. The idea that you're almost now blasting. I guess it's not your own fans you're blasting. You're blasting the Montreal fans who invaded the arena. But put it this way: the Jets have a lot of other things to worry about than how loud the visiting fans are in their building.
Well, did you hear Arnie after the game?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, I'm sorry. To me, that was so disappointing. The most disappointing in 4 years. Dude, you know what's been disappointing? This entire season for the Winnipeg Jets. And for those of us that were supporting the home team, that are sitting there through that all, I just thought that it was a lack of self-awareness of why that was the way that it was last night. Like, listen, the Habs fans weren't coming out over the last few years when they were, a young team that sucked, frankly. No kidding. They're fun. They're back. They're young. They're exciting. They're having a great season. You knew that there'd be a few more in the building. And then with what's happened with the Jets right now, I mean, I can't say I'm surprised there was more than usual and maybe some other people sitting this one out. But in the third period, when they're skating circles around you and nothing's going right and the team's showing bad body language and you're just counting down the minutes until the Olympic break, you want to just sit there and get olayed for the last 10 minutes of the game? Like, I'm not surprised. Like, we didn't leave, but I'm not surprised a lot of them did. And to say that was really disappointing, like, I'm sorry, the disappointment starts elsewhere than the fan base with what we saw last night.
Yeah, I think it's disappointing that Scott Arniel made that. And I realize he didn't bring it up unsolicited. He was asked about it, but that's one of those where I bet you if he could have a do-over,
100%,
he would have handled that a little differently. Look, he gets sour after losses. We've seen that. And, that question combined with probably his surly mood, the fact, of course, probably what really stung about that loss, Huss, I mean, lots of things would stink about it, but he knows that he's going to have to sit on that for 3 weeks now. Like, you want to feel good about something going into that break. Instead, the Jets have kind of a dud. And it reminded me, I was in Utah just before Christmas, and Scott Arniel, and they went into the Christmas break on a downer. He was not happy with their performance that day. And, that was just a 5-day break. This is 4 times as long that they now have to, and they're in much more dire straits than they were in December. The snowball was going downhill at the time, but it's a full-blown avalanche and not the Colorado variety now. So, yeah, I mean, if I had been on prior to yesterday's show, Huss, I would have told you that I had a feeling the Jets were going to have some trouble handling Montreal's speed and youth because they're not fast, nor are they young. And Montreal, kind of gives them fits. Even when the Jets have been playing well in recent years, Montreal can be a hand. And that's when Montreal wasn't any good. Now the Habs, they're, like you say, playing with a lot of confidence. So, yeah, put it this way. I'm not on a team here. Like I say, I don't have a rooting interest in this, but maybe it's for the best the Jets lost that game. I mean, again, I was hearing Scott Arniel at the morning skate yesterday was talking about we're in a push here, and the idea that there's a playoff push happening. I mean, they had 3 regulation losses in 13 games and they gained 1 point. So that's not much of a push. Now they have 4 regulation losses. So, they didn't obviously make any deals prior to yesterday's first trade deadline. But I got to think, with only 5 games left, Scott Arniel, Kevin Cheveldayoff, he saw what played out yesterday. They can't be under any illusion that they are in any kind of race here. other than maybe a race to the bottom.
No, and listen, I'll just say this on the other side of things. I know there was a lot of people that were bringing up, like, I can't believe the Jets sent out their playoff renewals and stuff like that. Like,
what are they supposed to say?
Yeah, what are they just saying? You know what? It doesn't look like this is our season, so we're not going to. I mean, there's the players go and play. The people that are in ticket sales and season tickets,
Absolutely.
like, there's a schedule. You send that thing out. Like, I got mine. Now, listen, do I expect playoffs? Absolutely not.
No.
But you don't pay if they don't play. So,
No.
like, yeah, if the team's in the playoffs, count me in. It's not happening, whatever. And I'm in for next year. Now, listen, I mean, at times like this, there is, I mean, listen, this has been a really, really bad season. Incredibly disappointing, so far off what the expectations are that maybe magnifies things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't just mean you stop operating.
No.
There's still work to be done. So that was a whole, I mean, whatever. I think these people kind of
It was a nothing.
kick
It was a
them
nothing
when they're
burger.
down thing from some people that wanted to do it.
Look, it was a nothing. There's no story there. But that being said, I get there's people who would like to hear something from ownership. All we've gotten so far is Kevin Cheveldayoff, and that mid-season.
Yeah, but they're not doing that right now with 27 games left in the season.
So,
like, if anything, 5 games in and around the trade deadline, the moves of the team will reflect where the team is right now. And if maybe they speak to it at that point, maybe it's at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But it's not going into your final game pre-Olympic break that you're going to wave the white towel and say, like, what does that say about the rest of the season? Like,
No.
The scenario is going to change for the Jets. After whatever moves are made, who's left here? How can we make the most for the future of these final 26 games? Who deserves to be up? Who do we want to take a look at? What players might come back in a trade that might be part of the mix for next year? I mean, that's going to be what we're talking about. But, I mean, for anyone that thought that was going to happen yesterday, I mean, maybe they could have alluded to it. But, again, when you're putting out things for playoffs and for next season, I mean, you're not, like, that's not the time where, this has been the worst season ever, blah, blah, blah. Like, we'll get to that at some point.
Yes.
But now the time is. Anyways, Ken's going to come on. We'll talk more about the Jets. I need a break. How was give us your first couple days?
Yeah.
I mean, you headed out to Italy. What have you seen so far? You got there okay? I mean, what's the scene in Italy?
Well, so I arrived here, which would have been, I guess, yesterday morning, Winnipeg time, yesterday afternoon in Milan. And I was, at that point, had been awake for over 24 straight hours. I had a story to write yesterday afternoon into the evening. So I didn't get out to really see anything yesterday. I crashed pretty hard once I got my initial work done and kind of settled into my place. Today's been a ton of fun, Huss. I haven't looked at the step counter yet. I think my prediction is it's well in excess of 20,000. I've kind of been all over. Now, I don't know if people have been to Milan, they would sort of know this, I guess. This is my first time here. This place, it's huge, and everything is spread out, not just within the city of Milan, but all of Italy. These Olympics are really spread out. So there's a time investment just to get around on subways and a lot of walking to get to different venues and whatnot. But I had a tour today of the Olympic Village. I got to tour the Canadian dorms. There it is, the very apt mascot, I guess, outside their dorms. Got to see the dorms that all the NHL players will be staying in. Let me say this, Huss. These are prison cell size. They're going to have 2 to a room in there. These guys are going to be, they're not going to have a lot of personal freedom in their rooms. These things are very tiny. They're like dorms. But I guess that brings the camaraderie and whatnot. So got to see all the facilities. It's a great setup. I mean, the people here in Italy are pumped. I actually saw the torch relay going down one of the streets as I was walking today, and there was hundreds of people kind of running along and cheering. So that was pretty awesome. And it's been a good day. I was supposed to be heading, Huss. I was supposed to be heading to the Canadian women's hockey game, which was supposed to start in about 45 minutes. against Finland. But that's been postponed because half the Finnish team is currently in quarantine. They're all sick. And so they deemed that it would be unsafe to play. They actually didn't even have enough healthy players. So that game's been pushed back to Sunday. So no competition yet. I mean, tomorrow's the official start of the Olympics. I'm going to be going to the opening ceremonies, which is going to be a blast. And then the games, really get going on the weekend here. And I'll be up to my eyeballs in women's hockey, men's hockey, covering, of course, Team Canada. Got to check in on the Americans regularly with Kyle Connor and Connor Hellebuck. Team Switzerland, the flag bearer, Nino Niederreiter. That news came out.
Yeah, that's great news for Nino.
Yeah, really good for him. Not having the season he'd like on the ice with the Jets, but certainly some real milestones this year. 1,000 NHL games. Now this honor. So yeah, it's great. I'm just thankful. This is my first Olympics. I'm going to soak it all in over these next 2.5 weeks. Really thankful that the Free Press, still believes in this. I kind of watch what's going on, in the media landscape, like the Washington Post. Just a really dark day. There it is. Got my picture with the rings today. Remo putting it up on the screen there. But yeah, I mean, independent mainstream journalism to be on the ground here for the whole duration is pretty special, and got lots of fun stories planned. Just a quick plug for one that'll be in tomorrow's paper. It's about a Swiss speed skater, but she's got all kinds of Manitoba roots. It's an absolutely wild and fascinating story. I spent a good chunk of the morning interviewing this young woman who will be competing for Switzerland, but dare I say, she's going to have a lot of Manitobans in her corner when they kind of read her story, hear her background. It's quite remarkable. And she's got a ton of family in Manitoba that are here in Italy as well to cheer her on. So there are no Manitoba speed skaters this year, but her kind of connection to the province is it's a multi-faceted connection, and it's fascinating. So had a chance yesterday. I did a story on the curling guru, the ice maker. A fascinating.
I read that. That was good. That was a good one. There's so many neat. I mean, because unfortunately, we don't have a lot of representation in the other sports other than hockey. We've got a couple of Manitobans on the men's and the women's teams.
Yep.
But there are a lot of people behind the scenes, whether it be coaches, and then hey, when you're talking curling and making ice, you talk about the province of Manitoba. So pretty cool that Mr. Owasco is getting his chance to do it as well. You mentioned curling. Of course, we love it. I'm a huge fan of the mixed curling. You don't get to see it very often. And like the Italians, and I mean, I basically just judge everything based on the betting lines. And the Italians were like plus 120, like a heavy favorite to win this event. They have been dominating on the world stage. Brett Gallant and Jocelyn Peterman steamrolled them today. They're 3-0, so a great start for the mixed curling, and kind of great to see our own Jen Jones doing the color on the game as well. So a real nice start. But man, I mean, one of the real stars of the Canadian Olympic team for the better part of the last decade plus, Mark McMorris, the snowboarder from Saskatchewan, had a brutal fall yesterday, stretchered off the course, and now unfortunately won't compete in the big air, one of the events that he was a medal favorite.
That was all the talk this afternoon as I was touring the Canadian Olympic village, the headquarters there. Everybody was talking about what happened to Mark yesterday, and I mean, honestly, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, it's a dangerous sport for sure. And that is a life and death kind of exercise right there. So unfortunately, he won't be able to compete in that event, but it sounds like he escaped anything too crazy, and to the point that he's going to be able to compete in another event later on in these games. So yeah, the curling has, again, people may not realize how spread out this is. I'm going to get up to Cortina. The curling is not happening here in Milan. which is a bit unusual because all the other ice events are here: speed skating, figure skating, hockey. The curling, though, is up in Cortina, which if I wanted to get up there, and I am planning to go up there, it's about a 4-hour train ride each way. It's about 8 hours of travel round trip, right up into the mountains where, so here in Milan today, Huss, it felt like spring. It was a little bit of rain, but mostly overcast, and it was like plus 13. I didn't even have a jacket. Up in Cortina today, I believe they were getting upwards of 40 centimeters of snow. So we're talking like two completely different weather patterns, which they love that's where all the skiing is, of course. But so my plan is to get up to Cortina for a day or two at some point in these games to really dig into the some curling coverage. But obviously hockey here in Milan is going to occupy a good chunk of the time. And I'm just excited to get going on that. Team Canada, they'll get in over the next couple days, and then I believe their first practice, it's on my list, I think they practice Sunday, Huss. So we'll start to get, okay, what are the line pairing? Who's playing with who? Who's Josh Morrissey partnered with? Who's Kyle Connor on a line with? Because the Americans are going to practice that day as well. So that'll be a lot of fantasy booking, if you will, going on right now. But in a couple days, we'll kind of learn what the coaches have in mind when it comes to their lineups.
Yeah, I guess obviously the NHL is still playing tonight. We'll probably see the majority of the players. I would think maybe like Connor, Hellebuck, Morrissey, they're probably heading over today, or I guess, or do they all meet? Do they all meet at a certain place and then go together as a team?
Some of them do. Some, though, like Nino Niederreiter was on his way because he's going to participate. He's carrying the flag tomorrow. Most of the players will not be here for the opening ceremony. But I believe there's even a few American players that were arriving today. Teams that maybe finished up Tuesday or last night, and players were able to get out here a little earlier. But I believe there is a bigger flight for the majority of guys that are coming en masse.
Hey, by the way, I know you mentioned the dorms. There's no way the NHLers are staying in those dorms, are they?
They are.
What? I'm
not kidding, Huss. There's all their names were on the doors. Like, I walked by one room, and they're not here yet. There's Bo Horvat and Travis Sanheim's name, both their names on the door. They're going to be bunk buddy. Well, it's not a bunk bed. But I'm talking the smallest beds you can imagine. Like, so I got into my hotel here in Milan, and my immediate thought was, oh my goodness, this is not a Marriott. This is tiny. But then I saw the dorms the players are in, and suddenly my hotel room felt spacious, and I don't have a lot of room. That real estate, there's a lot of similarities between Milan and New York, a place I've spent a lot of time. Real estate is pricey. The hotel rooms are very small, but yeah, these dorms, they're going to be snug, Huss. And I can only imagine what that's going to be like. I don't think the players, like, they're going from 5-star hotels on the road, the life of luxury in the NHL regular season, to something very different. This is going to be like college, or university frat house type stuff. But it'll be a tight fit for sure. And they're with all the other athletes. I saw it today. I toured the big common area where they have couches and different games and stuff for them to play. So no, they're kind of living
Is that just Team Canada? Like, is Team USA doing that same thing, and like the Swedes and all that, or?
Well, so everybody's in this same facility. It is one giant, which they're actually turning it into student housing. Once the Olympics are done, it's going to become the largest student housing unit in all of Italy. So they built this. It still has the new everything smell to it. So I believe everything is standard size. Now, the only thing I'll say is this, and I don't know who the players are. I believe there are a handful of players and even athletes in other sports that can get a private room. So, like, and I'm just using an example here. I don't know if Connor McDavid gets his own room because he's Connor McDavid. You know, like I said, I saw names. I didn't write them all down. I can't remember Thomas Harley, and I can't remember who he's with. But anyways, I saw the names on the doors, and there's a ton of them of 2 players to a room. But I saw what the room like that looks like. I also saw what a room of 1 looks like. The room is even smaller than the room of 2, but it is just 1 tiny bed instead of 2 tiny beds. So there will be a handful of guys that get to stay by themselves. And I don't know how they determine, or, you know, if it's the highest scorer or the highest salary or the most the most veteran player. I don't know. But most of them are going to be 2 to a room. And I believe that goes for the Americans.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I think the guys will appreciate being part of the Olympic experience. I mean, we've seen in the past with some teams that, you know, kind of go. I mean, the USA basketball team are staying in 5-star hotels when everyone is there, and
right.
You know, the Olympic. Now, as far as Canada goes, though, I mean, I maintain that if Braden Point wasn't on the Tampa Bay Lightning, this would be a done deal already, and someone else would be gone.
Yes.
He's not playing in any games. I guess he's been able to practice a little bit, and Coop's been able to kind of see how he's looking. I mean, this is the last day of NHL action today. Everyone's on a plane tomorrow. At what point do we know definitively if Braden Point is going to be on Team Canada, or will a replacement be named?
I think it has to be either by the end of the day today or first thing tomorrow morning, because I don't believe there's a provision that allows for a mid-tournament change where you can't take a guy off the active roster. And on top of that, Huss, this is not so easy as just flying a guy, obviously, to Montreal or Boston or something, like for the Four Nations. There's all kinds of things. There's visa issues. You know, travel obviously is fairly extreme. So I gotta, and the other thing is, like, players are, if you're not going to the Olympics, I doubt many of these guys are just sitting, especially Canadian guys, they're not sitting in their Canadian hockey market shoveling snow for the next couple weeks. Like, they're probably going somewhere. They're going to the Caribbean, they're going to Mexico, whatever. So, you know, guys are probably, they want clarity. Now, I don't know this to be the case, but I got to think, because Point's, I guess, barring anyone else getting hurt tonight, Point seems to be the only one that's still kind of in the air. So, and they had a list of like 15 guys on standby at one point. I assume that a lot of those guys have probably now been told, okay, go do whatever it is you were going to do. You're not going to be needed. And I mean, I don't know. I'm just speculating. I got to think Zach Hyman is the guy that gets the call if Braden Point can't go.
We talked about that yesterday. To me, you're looking at Scheifele, Hyman, Wyatt Johnson, Seth Jarvis, Connor Bedard. I think it's probably one of those 5 guys. And obviously, depending on the role that they thought for Braden Point, I mean, whoever this player is probably not in the lineup to begin the tournament. But, you know, where you're looking to fill a hole, you know, obviously different guys bring different things. I'd imagine Scheifele, though, still is in the mix, would be on that short list of players that could potentially get the call. I mean, he did say that he was still in the Olympic protocol or whatever.
Yeah, he probably hasn't left for Cabo just yet, or wherever he's headed. He might want to hold off another day or two, but I don't know. I think Zach Hyman and the surge that he's had, not to mention the built-in chemistry with Connor McDavid, clearly helps his cause, I would imagine. But yeah, I mean, Mark Scheifele, he absolutely should be down to the very end of consideration based on you know, his overall body of work this season. I do wonder if, you know, not to single him out in any way, but a lot of guys have struggled, and that top line's cooled down a bit over the last few weeks. They've been a little more hit and miss, maybe not as consistent as they were for a while. So, you know, did that hurt him? I got to think guys are being picked for a bigger body of work than just the last game.
He's still ninth in NHL scoring right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Certainly the production has been there, but well, we'll count that down. I'm sure Kenny will have a take on that when he joins us in just a minute. All right, quickly before we go, where are you at tomorrow? What's on tap?
Well, the big thing, of course, is the opening ceremonies tomorrow. So I'm putting together kind of a big feature that'll be in Saturday's print edition, and then. Yeah, I don't know what to expect. I've never been to an Olympic opening games. I'm told there's going to be like drone shows, and I think Snoop Dogg will be there. I don't think he's performing. It's kind of my goal to actually meet Snoop Dogg. I understand he's a big hockey fan, and so he'll probably be. I'm sure I'll run into him at some point at the rinks over these next couple of weeks, but. Yeah, I mean, I'll be seated for the opening ceremonies and kind of taking that all in. This will be a little different, though, Huss, again, because these games are so spread out. There's actually, I can't remember. It's either 3 or 4. I believe it's 4 opening ceremonies happening, at the same time.
Oh, sure, at the other venues.
Right. And I'm told that it's very much going to be a made-for-TV event, which means there's going to be times when things go dark pretty much in one stadium or 3 of the 4 while the action moves to the other. So, and what it means, Canada's 2 flag bearers they're not even here in Milan. And people aren't moving around. So the chosen flag bearers are carrying the flag where they are, which means here in Milan, Canada will have no flag bearer. And I believe of the 207 Canadian athletes, Milan has the largest contingent because it's got the 2 hockey teams. But again, a lot of the Canadian men probably won't even be here. I believe the number is something like 68 or 70 of the 207 are in Milan. But that just gives you an idea of how spread out everyone is.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, it'll be, but it'll be, it'll be a fun thing to watch. Looking forward to it. And then the games really get going on the weekend, with a big dose of hockey and some curling and other things sprinkled in.
Bring it on, Mike. We'll look forward to all of your coverage in the Winnipeg Free Press, and we'll look forward to chopping it up with you a couple times next week when your schedule allows. Thanks so much for doing this, buddy, and enjoy every minute of it.
You bet, Huss. All the best. Say hi to Kenny.
I will.
Thumbs up.
I will for sure.
Peace
There's
out.
Mike McIntyre, and again, all throughout the Olympics, live coverage, boots on the ground for the Freep out in Milan, Cortina for the Olympic Games. All right, Kenny's locked and loaded. Before we bring Ken in, don't forget, gang, it is time, if you haven't already, to count yourself in for a chance to be Manitoba's newest millionaire with the St. Boniface Hospital Mega Million Choices Lottery. Head over to stbmegamillionchoices.ca to get your tickets. You'll be in for the incredible grand prizes, one of 5 dream home packages worth over $1.5 million or $1.25 million Canadian tax-free cash. But there's plenty more to dive into right now, because if you get your tickets before next Thursday at midnight, you'll be in for the ultimate bonus and all the other early bird prizes. The ultimate bonus worth over $140,000. One of the prizes is that amazing World Cup experience to go to Vancouver for the World Cup, package valued at over $10,000, along with a couple grand, $280,000 in early bird prizes, and so much more. And it's all in support of the great work and research at the St. Boniface Hospital. You can grab tickets in person at London Drugs or Red River Co-op, or go online today, stbmegamillionchoices.ca, and count yourself in. A huge thanks to our friends at Princess Auto for their support of WST. Of course, Princess Auto, synonymous with Winnipeg, founded and headquartered right here, now serving Canadians coast to coast with the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon, or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. These next couple weeks are going to be absolutely gorgeous. And what a great time to get out on the trails with the sled, maybe do a little bit of ice fishing. And of course, that brings us to our friends at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli, Manitoba's undisputed power sports superstore for over 80 years. Our friends at Chud's are rocking great deals for snowmobile season right now on Polaris sleds, also the best in Arctic Cat, and so much more. Ice fishing shacks, RVs looking ahead to the spring and summer. You got motorcycles, you got boats, you name it. If it's outside, if it's fun, Chud's Power Sports has it. And while you're at it, check out their website at chudspowersports.com. Top right corner, you'll see a little link that says e-commerce store. Click on that. That's True North Parts, the best in parts, anything you need for your sled or ATV. They've also got amazing clearance deals on gear and accessories, and we know you all love a good deal. Pop by and see them in person. Say hi to the Derminator and the great people at Chud's Power Sports in Gimli, corner of Highway 8 and 231, and get on over and check them out today online at chudspowersports.com. And hey, just before we bring in Weber, we got through the teeth of the last couple of weeks. Did your car make it through? Listen, if you got battery issues, you better make sure you're going to get through the rest of this winter. Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery can help you with that. Your local option for all things batteries with the best prices in town, period, guaranteed, beating the pants off the big box stores for price and service. 2 locations, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive. They'll also deliver batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter if you need. So stop paying more, spending more time with the subpar customer service for all your battery needs. Go to Manitoba Battery, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive, or shop online today at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's bring in Weber. Ken Weeb, fresh off of, being a bit of an orphan on his own show. Sean Reynolds out in Italy doing his Olympic duty. So we got to treat to Dennis Bayak and last night, Paul Edmonds. I have to ask you, what the hell was going on in the background last night during that program?
Were you getting ready? I think Offspring is playing tonight at the arena. So the full blown the takeover was in effect there. And Huss, it wouldn't be a Kenny and Rennie show without some technical difficulties. About 40 minutes into the show, I realized that my fancy microphone was plugged in, but it was on my computer microphone, which meant that it was not muffling out the background sound.
You couldn't mute
like
it
does here. So yes, one of those things where, this is my tip of the cap to Rennie for his ability to juggle the background. So this is classic. I'm trying to get the ad reads ready, Huss, how the sausage is made. Ignored the comment section for about 10 minutes where all the people were like, mute your mic in the background. And when Paul said that must be on your end, I thought he meant that my froze because the internet wasn't as strong. So I didn't realize until, 20 minutes too late. But, a bit of an adventure as always. But as you know, I've known Paul for a long time. Love sharing the airwaves, whether it was back in the old Gold Eyes days or, obviously in the 1290 days when we would get together on various programs. But yeah, lots of fun. Huss, you're a wrestling guy too. A little bit of an NWO takeover style this week with Dennis Bayak joining us from Kelowna and Paulie hopping on after he got back home after the show last night. So had some laughs. I will tell you that had you not been in Costa Rica, we might have had you back in the host's chair also. But I know it's been a busy week for you, and I hope you and Hammer had a great time over there.
Yeah, we certainly did. Hammer will be on tomorrow.
And happy belated, the big fella, 4-0
birthday. I was with the Hamilton twins.
Indeed,
over the course of the month. So yeah, we got back just in time for them to have their big birthday. So I'm looking forward to having Jeff back on tomorrow. All right, there's a few angles to get to from last night, but let's just start off. I mean, I thought the Jets, had a million chances to go up 2, 3, 4 in the first 10, 12 minutes of that game last night. They only got one. And then the Habs sort of woke up and, took it to the Jets. I mean, the shot clock will tell you they had a lot of shots. I didn't think Montembeault was brilliant, but he certainly made the saves that he needed to. Towards the end of the game, I didn't love the body language of the Jets. It just sort of seemed like everybody needed this break. As far as the 60 minutes of hockey last night, how did you see it play out, Ken?
Yeah, Huss, I mean, my only counter to you about Montembeault, I think he was great early, which is when he had to be great. That game could have been 3 or 4-0 for the Jets at one point. I think you can count a Nemestikov 2-on-1 chance, Nemestikov to Niederreiter, incredible blocker
They
save.
both set each other up, and I mean, what? Tell me,
2 great setups.
Does this sound familiar? No finish on glorious chances and opportunities.
Well, and Kyle Connor off the post, so there's 3 grade A's right there in succession almost, Huss, and that inability to either get to the break at 1-0 or to pile on and tack on a second or a third. In that last game before the break, I think had the Jets, I'm not saying that Montreal would have quit by any stretch because they're a team that's rallied a ton this year, but in that last game before the break on the road, I think that they were kind of ripe for the picking if the Jets had been able to convert maybe 1 or 2 more of those chances. But that inability to finish has been a big issue for the Jets this year. Power play, which has also been an issue at times. 19th, tied for 19th in the NHL after being number 1 last year, number 1 with a bullet. They had an incredible first power play, Huss. The puck movement was extraordinary. The motion, you had a couple of incredible retrievals where guys won stick battles and one-on-one battles. Josh Morrissey keeps in the clearing attempt. Morrissey, Scheifele, Velarde, backdoor to Connor. I mean, Huss, we talked about it for so long this year. It's wild that that's Kyle Connor's just his 3rd power play goal of the year. This guy was autopilot for 10 plus. With the man advantage, but teams have done a good job of taking it away. But that was an example of the movement being spectacular. And when the movement's spectacular, you can't cheat and only try to take away the one option on the backside one-timer. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the Jets' first period was really good. And Huss, here's the other part of that power play discussion. If they cash, even after giving up the late one, if they cash in the first, minute 20 of the second, maybe we're having a different discussion. But the movement wasn't quite as crisp. The adjustments were made defensively to attack the pressure points, and they weren't nearly as effective with that one. But yeah, I mean, I think that I'm kind of with you. I mean, I think that most people, whether you're a player who is going through the physical toll of what the condensed schedule has been like, or if you're covering the team, or just a fan of hockey who watches hockey, I think most people got to last night and are like, man, am I ready for the Olympics or am I ready for the break? Right. So I don't think the Jets, mailed it in at the end, but I do think that the enormity of the uphill climb was evident at parts of that game. And I also think too that, Huss, it has way more to do with how fast the Canadiens played. I don't think that they were giving up. It just, you have to exert so much energy in all 3 zones in order to keep up. And again, I think the Jets played that style, that relentless pressure style last season. We've talked about it a ton, Huss. We know it's not last season, but Montreal is one of those teams that plays that way now, and they had to. They weren't a good defensive team before, Huss. Marty St. Louis has been working on this process for a couple of years now, and now he's seeing it come to fruition the same way that the Jets did in the Rick Bowness started era, where Scott O'Neill was obviously having a major impact. But the difference being, there's a ton of top 5 picks on that team, and there's a lot of young legs on that Canadiens team. And yeah, I mean, they took it to the Jets. I mean, yes, the Jets did create opportunities, including plenty of high danger chances, but that inability to finish off those chances really kind of caught up with them. And yeah, they look like a team that needs to head to the beach, unplug, come back, and realize that 26-51 is going to be a pretty full bingo card happening, Huss, for the remainder of the regular season and that sprint to the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they got to play out the stretch. I mean, the games are on the schedule as much as, I mean, I think, anyone that can crunch the numbers will tell you that that ship has sailed for this season. I mean, it brings us to the trade deadline. I mean, the 5 games leading into the deadline, and then, what this team looks like after the deadline. Just before we get to that, you were there last night hearing from the coaches afterwards. I mean, you heard what Arnie had to say to Christian Romel's question. Do you think if he had a little bit more time or a redo, he would like to take a mulligan on that one?
I don't know. I don't really have an issue with what he said. I mean, Scott, and I don't think there was some,
You don't think there was a total lack of self-awareness with that answer? Like, to be really disappointed and say it was the most disappointing. Well, you know why that was, Scott? It's because your team stunk all year and you let the Montreal Canadiens completely turn it around on you. And then the Jet fans that were there were getting ole, ole, olayed all afternoon. Like, you don't want to be disappointed like that, and you want to give your home team a little something to cheer for. Maybe have your team play a little bit better and not get it taken to them the way they did in the second half of that game.
Yeah, Huss, I mean, I can understand how you feel that way. I think he was asked an honest question and he answered it honestly. I mean, like, this is not a guy who's not aware, Huss. I mean, Scott Arniel, if I'm not mistaken, was there for the original tuxedo night. So the fact that Montreal has fans in the building, that wouldn't bother him. I think that the disappointment wasn't necessarily at the fans. I think it's the disappointment was to your point, how his team played in that environment, allowing it to look like, in some ways, a Montreal Canadiens home game. That's my interpretation. I don't think that was a pointed shot at people who sold their tickets to Canadiens fans or had the audacity to wear red into the building. That's not how I interpreted Huss personally. I think the disappointment is with what happened on the ice. I mean, Scott's gone out of his way recently to say, how much he appreciates the fans. This guy lives in the market, Huss. So I don't think this was a shot at Manitobans for moving their tickets or for people who are either Canadiens fans from here or elsewhere, that they were able to come in to the barn. I mean, of course, you'd like it to be more of a home ice advantage, and that was not the case yesterday. But I don't think that was any direction in the wrong place. I mean, that's not how I viewed it. I mean, that wasn't my interpretation at the time. But again, I'm looking through a different lens here. Yeah,
no, well, I mean, like, this happens all the time. This is nothing new. I mean, the same thing with the Leafs happened. But I mean, if you get rolled over by a team like that, and I mean, let's face it. I mean, the Habs fans weren't there as much over the last few years when they sucked. But now they're on the up.
They were there, but they weren't as loud.
Well, and
maybe there weren't as many. I mean, it was like a Leafs game, House. That was almost a 50-50 crowd, it looked like to me, from where I was sitting.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, in the first period, it wasn't a big issue because the Jets were taking it to Toronto's or to Montreal. So I was just surprised that he went there. I mean, I thought there would have been a little bit more. It was unfortunate that, we didn't do more to give our fans a little bit more to cheer about and let them sort of take over the building in the second half of the game. Like that's what was disappointing to me, as much as, I think the rest of the people not in red at the game last night.
Just lastly, Huss, I just think that, there's just been a ton of pressure I think internal, external, all of these things. I think that you just saw a coach that needed a break at the end of the road. And we've been talking so much about how hard they've had to battle to, try to make up ground. And Huss, when the Jets woke up today, despite being 7-4-3, they have made up zero ground, right? So they were 11 points back when the 11-game skid ended, and they are now 11 points back with 26 to go. I think that's sort of, it's the weight of what is ahead. I think that had more to do with that. And I think Scott's talked so much about, the ups and downs and disappointments. And, we heard, Niederreiter mention the roller coaster of emotions, all those things. So, again, I didn't, in real time, I didn't view it as an issue, and nor do I view it as an issue now, Huss. I think it's just, certainly frustration with how the Jets went into the break. And again, I think this is compounded by the fact that he felt they should have won Monday's game in Dallas, and, with the first period, maybe could have had a better showing on Wednesday. And all of a sudden, if those two games are a win and two wins rather than an overtime loss and a, one-sided beatdown, maybe you're feeling a little bit better about your chances. But that's just how I interpreted Huss. I mean, that's
sure. So let's move forward. Over the course. Well, first of all, what do you think's happening during the break? Obviously, the players will go their ways. Inside that front office, like I am of the opinion that they knew that this season was toast probably a month ago. But you can't quit, you can't throw up the white flag. But we are where we are. I mean, how will this last run, knowing what is pretty much an insurmountable hill, shape what's going on leading into the resumption of play, the final 5 games, and of course the trade deadline?
Yeah, Huss, I mean, I think the other issue that complicates matters, and not complicated in terms of direction, but in terms of the implementation, because of the roster freeze going, I think, what is it, till the 22nd at, basically 10:59 or 11 p.m., I think that you're thinking about potential fits for your pending UFAs that especially the ones you aren't able to sign. So, again, we've heard this from various insiders, Huss. We know that during the break, the expectation is that the Jets will be talking to the camp of Logan Stanley. The expectation, as reported by Elliot Friedman, is that the Jets will be talking to Jonathan Taves' representatives about a potential, how does he feel about his no move? Does he want to move on? Is he going to keep playing? All of these things. So there is some business to take care of, definitely, Huss, during that time. But let's not kid ourselves. Much like the sprint to the finish line for the Jets, 26 games in 51 days, that sprint to the trade deadline is absolutely critical for the direction, not just the present day direction, but for the future direction of this franchise. We know that most likely the majority of those pending UFAs, if not all of them, will be. It would be hard to move all 8, but the ones who aren't going to be re-signing, the majority will be moved as long as there is, some value coming back, whether that's a prospect or recouping some of the draft capital, or if they can turn some of those players into current NHLers that will change the composition of the lineup. So, as it pertains to guys with another year on their deal, that to me is where the discussions could be interesting, Huss, right? So, how are you feeling about whether it's Vlad Nemesnikov or Nino Niederreiter or, somebody on defense? If you feel you're trying to change the dynamic and the makeup of the roster, now those deals are a little bit more difficult to probably get to the finish line, but you do have time in terms of the creativity. I think another thing, I know it's been mentioned by other places, are the Jets going to be willing to take on a bad contract in order to get a draft pick attached to it, right? So, again, I think it's topical because Montreal was in town. Huss, you saw the same things that I did on social. What about, taking Patrick Laine's money on, if that means adding a high draft pick or a prospect or something like that? I don't know. Maybe that's something would be intriguing. I mean, Huss, I'd also be intrigued by, the potential reunion. I mean, we talked about this a year or two ago. If Patrick's healthy and in a good place, which we always hope that he is, would there be an opportunity for a team that's looking for secondary scoring, Andrew? We know a guy whose best days were spent here. Now, we know that there were other issues, with various players. Most of those players are gone now. Not all of them, but some of them are gone. So could there be a possibility for a reunion on that front? Again, I'm not saying it happens now before the deadline, but, could Patrick be a guy that the Jets look to, in terms of scoring? I mean, especially if, Gabe Vilardi is now a play driver, potentially on line 2. The whole thing we talked about for years, why wasn't Laine used more with either Connor or Wheeler and Scheifele? What about the potential there? And again, I'm just spitballing here. Patrick's not exactly in a place where he's a first-line player anymore. But, I mean, maybe you get in the hot tub, jump in the hot tub time machine and see if you can, get something going. Now, again, it doesn't have to be Laine. It could be someone else. If there's a way to add first-round picks, Huss, the Jets have to be looking at those things, right? So if you're adding somebody's big ticket, now, Laine is an expiring contract, so that makes sense. I think the Boston Bruins model is what the Jets are looking at. You're looking at a 1-year retool. Some things didn't go your way. You're going to change the complexion a bit, but you got to be – Kevin Cheveldaev's got to do what Don Sweeney did. That was add draft capital and then do a good job around the periphery of the roster, make a few changes, try to attack it again because your core is there, right? Pasta, those guys, Geeky, those guys are there. They invested, they re-signed Geeky to an extension, and that to me is sort of what the Jets are looking at. But, how many of these, what is the value of some of these players and what are you getting in return? Are those NHL ready guys? Are they guys in the American League that are ready to kick down the door like Elias Salomonson has? Or are these guys that are more project players and guys of that nature? Because you got to kind of clear out a few more spots to test drive a few more players. You want to find out what you have in your organization, Huss. We talked about Nikita Chibrikov a lot this year. Hasn't been a great year for him offensively down in the minors. But Huss, next year, Chibrikov is on a one-way contract. So You got to find out if he's going to be an NHLer, and maybe you give him a few games at the end of the year. I don't know how many that number is, but that'll depend on, how many of these guys, whether it's Nyquist, Pearson, any of these other forwards that could be moved out prior to the deadline. But yeah, I mean, the Jets have got to be active, Huss. I think too, we've talked about this a lot. The fact that the deficit is now double digits, no, they're not quitting on the season. But, you got to the whole one eye on the present and one eye on the future. That's going to be more like 1.5 eyes on the future. Well,
yeah,
the deadline.
Players, listen, the players in the lineup, they're going to go out and try and win games.
Of course,
and
that's
Scott
their
Arniel's
job.
going to ice his lineup, then they're going to be, going out and competing. But I mean, everybody above the head coach needs to have both eyes on the future. I mean, to be perfectly honest, the only thing that's important in the present probably is maximizing your opportunity to pick in the top 5 of the NHL draft.
Right. And I think that's, again, people know the score, Huss. I mean, that's obvious. It's going to be a frustrating stretch. We know that the Jets are going to play hard. We know they have, the easier part of the schedule in this sprint is right away out of the gate. You got teams that you're chasing, except for Vancouver, who nobody is chasing. You have Vancouver out of the gate. You've got games against San Jose, Anaheim, teams that you're trying to pick off above you. But yeah, I mean, I think the reality is that the Jets are, they are tracking towards, barring a miracle run, they are tracking towards a top 5 pick. And I think that's, I think that's the most likely outcome. But again, they're not going to be tossing in their sticks at a ODR game here and saying, hey, we're just going to go through the motions here for 2 months and hope for the best. But
as far as the roster goes right now,
yeah.
Is there any value to any of the players that were signed in the offseason on expiring deals?
I mean, I would say Cole Koepke would be a guy that, based on his 20 game block, that you would consider him for a team that wants to be faster and harder to play against us. I mean, a 2-year, let's just say a 2-year deal for a guy who's bounced around a bit. And
Sorry. My question is value to other teams in the league.
Well, I mean, he would have value to other teams too, as a fourth line guy. I mean, playoffs are hard hitting. I mean, he would be a guy that I think would have appeal. I know that some folks have been down on him and wanted him waived, Huss, earlier this year, but Huss, Tanner Pearson has 7 even strength goals this year. So even though he's been the odd man out with Gus Nyquist returning to the lineup, I mean, this guy's got all the reasons he appealed to the Jets: championship pedigree, secondary scoring, guy who's not afraid to play a physical brand of hockey, big, strong guy, goes to the net, can kill penalties. I mean,
so you think there might be a taker for him?
You're not talking about a first-round draft pick or anything like that for Pearson, but
anything. I'm talking about literally anything.
I do think that there would be a team that would view him as a 12th to 13th or 14th forward. If you're trying to win the cup, he's $1 million player. I do think that there would be a market for him. But again, it's and the other part too. Are you packaging some guys? Are you sending them for a one-off mid-round draft pick? Would you prefer a prospect? I mean, that's the sort of the decision-making process we're going to be looking at here. And Huss, I know we've talked about Logan Stanley a ton. Elliot Friedman mentioned the Detroit Red Wings and the Jets maybe talking. I mean, where that leads, we don't know. But I mean, it would make sense for a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since 2016 that Logan Stanley, given his, skill set, size, physical nature, offensive explosion, like it would make sense for them to want to add a guy to, give some additional physical play to guys like Travis Hamonic, Ben Sherratt. We know Mo Seider is a big, strong guy, but I mean, these guys have no playoff experience. So I do think that, the team has no playoff experience. They do have some players that have, JT Compher, been to the cup. They've got other guys, but
Patty Kane.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think that he would kind of appeal to them. And there too, I mean, Tanner Pearson, he also to me would make sense as a, fourth line or extra forward guy to them. Maybe that makes sense given his contract number and everything else.
One other guy I wanted to ask you about is Luke Schenn. And I mean, we've heard his name out there. I mean, I would imagine that is mostly on reputation. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think that he has been a liability for the Winnipeg Jets since the day that he got here, last year in the playoffs, all this season. And that probably, especially with where the Jets are going to finish, might end up being the worst trade in 2.0 history, although maybe there's a couple of other ones in there. But, his championship pedigree and experience, I mean, can that get something back on the market for a veteran player for one of the playoff teams, do you think?
Sure. I mean, Luke is a guy who has experience. He plays a physical brand of hockey. He's a penalty killer. He has won before. So, again, I think liability is a bit strong personally, Huss. But I mean, again, that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion, and you're not the only one that has that opinion.
That's where I'm at.
I think that Luke would have value to certain teams for sure. Jets probably would have to retain, I would imagine, a little bit of the money. On that front, what is he, just under 3? But anyways, he would be a guy that as a 7th or 8th defenseman, I think that there would be teams that would see him as a guy who could seamlessly fit into a room. And if you need him, you tap him on the shoulder and you find a chance or find a place for him. But again, you're not getting back a 2nd and a 4th like you gave up for him.
What about, final question for you. I mean, the obvious ones are the guys that are on the expiring deals. What are the chances that a Dylan DeMello, Nino Niederreiter, Alex Iafallo, a player with term that's part of that group that has sort of underachieved this year. What are the chances that one of those players potentially finds himself on the move, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I think that, again, probable, I'm not going to go that far, but I mean, if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff, you have to listen at what the offers are. And again, like I said, if you are able to get yourself either an early 2nd or a late 1st round pick for some of these players, you have to consider it. We know why the Jets extended those players. It's because of how they're viewed in terms of the culture carrying nature, their importance to the team and all those things. But a number of those guys that you mentioned have seen their play deteriorate to a certain degree. So if you can help yourself in the present and the future, I think you have to listen at least and see how it goes. So again, whatever the percentage, I'm not going to say 50%, but I would say, let's say 33% that at least one of those guys gets moved. I think that would be a fair place to put the cool bet line, Huss. But I mean, I think that the Jets, I don't know that I don't see a core piece being moved, but I think the players like sort of just outside the core or in the secondary portion of the core, they could be up for debate. But I mean, again, you and I have talked a lot about how other teams would be calling about Cole Perfetti. I think Cole's recent stretch has really reinforced his position within the organization as a guy, a future piece that they want to build around, not move out to bring somebody else in. I think the way that he's been able to play in the last, 4, 5, 6 weeks or 5 weeks coming out of the Christmas break, that's a sign of things to come from Cole, especially after he gets to full health, which will be beneficial for the 3-week break that's coming up here.
Yes, God bless the break for all parties involved. Let's bring on the Olympics, bring on Team Canada, and we'll reconvene on these, obviously throughout the break, but most importantly for those 5 games as we head into the deadline. Weber, great stuff as always. Thank you for the time, and I'll look forward to chatting Olympic hockey with you next week on WST.
Yes, sir. We'll be checking in from lovely Puerto Vallarta. And yeah, just for folks, I don't know if you talked about it with Mike or not, you may have, but John Cooper telling reporters today that the decision on Braden Point is supposed to be made. I don't know if it'll be made official or public, but it'll be supposed to be made today. So again, that will be, if you're Mark Scheifele, if you're Zach Hyman, you're Connor Bedard,
here's your call. If he's out, who's getting the call?
Oh, that's a toughie. I think that, again, I've said this for a long time. I think Mark is deserving. I think that based on how teams are made, I think that Hockey Canada would be looking at a Zach Hyman as a replacement just because he's the kind of guy that would play with Connor McDavid. But again, Mark has done what he can to get himself ready. But I think that, and again, I should also say too, like Winnipegger Seth Jarvis is having an outstanding year, has 25 goals already, strong two-way game, feisty player. So I think that he still remains in the mix. But to me, it feels like the fact that they brought Hyman to the summer evaluation camp, even though he was injured, Huss, I know they weren't on the ice, but to me, it seems like he's the next man up.
Excellent. All right, Weber, thanks for doing this, pal.
Yep, take care, my man. Thanks for
All
having
right,
me.
good stuff with Ken at Weeb's World, Winnipeg Free Press, and K&R. Fun times with Paulie Edmonds last night. All right, we're going to bring in Joe Piscucci in just a minute. Well, with no Jet games over the next little while, we are not going to be We're not going to be getting away from the clean line lines because we'll be all over the lines for Team Canada at the Olympic Games, Team USA, the rest of the hockey tournament. So we'll have that for you throughout on our social channels as well as on WST as we follow everything involved with the red and white in the Best on Best tournament. Of course, it's all brought to you by Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Your one-stop shop with over 40 years of experience. Your leaders in Winnipeg residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical services, and the official plumbers of the Winnipeg Jets. 24/7 emergency services available. Write the number down, 204-500-2001. And you can find out more information on all of Clean Line services for you online at cleanline.ca. Captain approved. Hey, we got Olympic hockey coming up. We got the Super Bowl on Sunday. Of course, no better place to get together with your gang to take it all in than your local Boston Pizza Lounge. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, great prizes for both Jet games and NFL football. So when you're making your plans for the big game, make it Boston Pizza. And if you're staying at home, you can always order online at bostonpizza.com. And speaking of the Olympics, many of you are racing to grab some Canada gear before everything gets going officially tomorrow night. Royal Sports has it all. Jerseys, hoodies, hats, you name it. Team Canada gear out the wazoo at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Actually, I'm going to have to wear my Team Canada gig. I know Connor was on yesterday with his hat, also got it at Royal. So get outfitted in the red and white for the Olympic Games coming up at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. You can also follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, Scooch is ready to go. Let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's welcome in. Pat Gregoire is going to join us from Coolbet. We're going to take a look at some Super Bowl lines and tee up the big show tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. with WST winners with myself, Pat, Jake, and Connor. But first, let's bring in the Scooch, Joe Piscuchi, to the program. What's going on, my friend? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm certainly doing a lot better than the Jets right now. They're hurting me.
Oh,
I'm
dude.
so hurt.
Yeah, I mean, last night was, let's just say the break is much needed for all parties involved. Listen, just before we get to the Jets, though, I did want to, just have you on for a minute to talk about Peter Young, who passed away earlier today. I mean, obviously, you being the sports director at Global for so many years, Peter had an incredible run with CKY, a big part of Jets hockey earlier in the days. And, the Winnipeg media community has always been pretty tight-knit. So, I mean, just a big, big loss for someone that was such a big part of the sports scene for so long in the city.
Yeah, and not just locally, but nationally, international. I mean, he did Olympics, he did tennis, he did Canadian football, he did Jets hockey. He worked for the Toronto Blue Jays, handling some of their media production during those World Series years. He ran minor hockey leagues. He ran, I think the Calgary Cannon? I think the Calgary Cannons. He was in charge of them in baseball. So he did so much in his broadcasting career. You got to be jealous. For someone like me. I was jealous of all the things he was able to do with his career, but a lot of fun to be around. I got to spend a lot of time with him during Grey Cup week when I came back to Winnipeg, and he's a great storyteller. I mentioned in the Free Press there, I remember the game that we were part of the Blue Bomber media hockey team, and we're playing in Starbuck, and I guess it was against the RCMP, and Pete, he's a competitor. So he got into a battle along the boards and dropped the gloves and then got poked in the nose, and it was broken. Didn't miss a shift, partied after the game, and on Monday was there doing CKY Sports with bandages on his nose. He was tough. And I said before, great storyteller. 1977 Grey Cup, he told me about this story where, Edmonton got blown up by Montreal. After the game, he gets on the Edmonton team bus, right? And they're leaving Olympic Stadium. And he spots out the window John Bassett, who was owner of the Argonauts, I think at that time. He was getting beat up by some fans outside the stadium. So Pete got them to stop the team bus, the Eskimos team bus, and the Eskimo players got out and pulled John Bassett out of that fight. So I said, just one of several incredible stories with Peter Young, a great guy, did a lot for sports, of course, CKY Sports Star, which I hope is still continuing, but that was on for like 20, 30 years. And he was there when it began.
You know what? You're just looking at, and obviously, I mean, I kind of grew up watching Peter, as a young Jet fan. It was such a different world,
yes,
with how we got our information. And, like yourself and guys like Peter, I mean, instantly recognizable, everywhere in the city because of, just the mass population that was getting all of their sports news from the evening newscasts.
Yes. No internet, right? If you wanted to learn about sports or find out about your team or any sports, it was CJOB, 25 after the hour, or, CKY, CKND, CBC, and that was it. Those were the places to go if you were a Jets fan, Bomber fan, a fan of curling. I've been watching the provincial men's curling championships on YouTube. I'm still following that. And Reed Carruthers won today, so a win for the top seed. So yeah, he was very important, and and the connection he was able for a lot of the athletes. He's a strong connection with Bobby Hall, Anders Hedberg, Ulf Nilsson, Don Jonas, of course, very instrumental in getting Jonas re-signed that one-day contract with the Blue Bombers at the end. So he maintained a lot of sports friendships with the athletes. Billie Jean King, who he did lots of tennis with when they covered the Canadian Open Championships.
Yeah, it was a big loss. I mean, he'd been sick, but just wanted to bring you on to just remember Peter a little bit, because I know there's many of our viewers who certainly remember his work fondly here in Winnipeg and around the world. Such a big part of the sports media landscape at that time. You mentioned the local hockey club right now. Hey, listen, there's been a lot of talk about the crowd last night and what Scott Arniel had to say after the game, which I didn't like very much, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he probably could use a mulligan. Let me ask you this.
But why? I have an answer. Why were you upset? What was he supposed to say? That he wasn't upset? Like, he was disappointed. I think we are all disappointed, but I don't think it was anything slanderous or anything that anybody should criticize him about, in my view.
Well, I mean, I would have put it this way. When asked about that crowd and how the Habs fans took over, I think there's probably a little bit of ownership on the part of the home team as to why that was the case last night. Yeah. Like, in the first period, it wasn't like that. But when that team takes over the game and runs away with it in the fashion that they did, and the people that are there supporting the team are getting ole, ole, olayed all for the final third period of the game, I mean, I get why some people said, I'm out of here. I get why. I mean, there wasn't much to cheer for at that point. And
no,
yeah, and this is what I was going to say to you. I mean, Habs fans coming in big numbers is not anything new. Now, it had been a little lean the last few years because they sucked, but they're back. They've got a really exciting young team. And, a lot of them, I think, for the first time in a while showed up. And the best way to handle that is to take care of business on home ice, which unfortunately the team didn't do last night. And that was why the scene in the third period was the way it was. And to be honest, the way the teams played all year is probably why there was a few more people that are wearing Habs jerseys able to get into the building.
True, but it's the same for when the Leafs are there as well, or even with the Philadelphia Flyers. And, in the days that we were doing Jets hockey back in the 90s, the visiting team, especially if you had some Stanley Cup pedigree, would have a lot of fans in the building. So, yeah, it was disappointing to hear it, but, the Hab fans had their day last night. I mean, maybe next season or seasons after or the seasons previous, the Jet fans had their way. And last night was what was disappointing for me was how well they played for 15 minutes. And then after Montreal gets the tying goal and then went ahead in the second with the 2 quick ones, it was over. It was over. And what concerns me, going forward is that we all know the season's over. They're not making the playoffs. Okay. There's no hope. Yes, it's a mathematical, but that's it. So let's start building for next season now. Let's start preparing for next season, whether that means trading players, bringing players up from the Moose to find out whether they can play or not in the NHL. It's time. It's now time. It's not wait till the end of the season. I think one of the things Chevy has to do is determine in this Olympic break whether Scott O'Neill is coming back next season or not. And I'm a Scott O'Neill fan. All right.
So am I.
Yeah, I'm a Scott O'Neill fan. I have loved him from when he was a Jet 1.0, a Moose player, a Moose coach, Jets assistant coach. I'm a Scott O'Neill fan. I don't put a lot of this on him. I was watching last night and in the past few games. Is this team gone back to the Paul Maurice days? All of a sudden, now we're turning pucks over at their blue line and at the opposing blue line. Again, this is what the problem was before, was turning over pucks. They're still making blind passes into the middle of the ice. Mark Scheifele's defensive game has slipped a lot. I know in that breakaway that he had on Monday night against Dallas, as soon as he got the puck, it looked to me like he was trying to see if there was anybody he could pass it to, and then on the winning goal, he lost his man again. And it's not the first time that's happened in overtime with Mark Scheifele on the ice. And I gave him credit last year for much improved defensive game, but it has slipped. It has slipped back, and it's dangerous to see that. And what concerns me now is one of the many things that concerns me about the Jets is Connor Hellebuck. He's already stated many times, he's not here to win trophies, to win personal awards. He wants to win the Stanley Cup. And if he doesn't think that this team can win a Stanley Cup, whether it's next season or not, he's going to ask for a trade. He's going to ask politely to be traded out of here. And that's what concerns me, because they have good players, and Hellebuck, may decide that it's time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this season's a write-off. To me, the most impactful day is going to be the trade deadline. We'll see what they can get for some of the extra pieces or available pieces on the roster, and then those final games. Who's taking those spots? Is it younger players that are coming over in trades, and you get to see what you have them? Deserving players from the Moose getting a run a little bit and moving on and see where you finish, and then hope for a little bit of draft lottery luck, and then a full autopsy on how this season went so terribly wrong. Scooch, before we go, how about the aggressive moves of the Bombers on the weekend as we get going before official free agency? Bombers certainly seem to mean business and not going about things the way they did last year, leaving some money on the table. Surprisingly, in the year they won the Grey Cup, and it seems like they're not looking to repeat 2025 and 26.
And that's a good sign. I mean, they're not resting on what they have done in the past, and they're, I think, showing to the fan base that they're back in it to win it. And hopefully, Mike O'Shea will, if something is wrong this season, if he sees some kind of problem, that he immediately tries to correct them. But it's great that they've improved their offensive line, a change of course at the offensive coordinator position. That should help. Tommy Condell has obviously a lot of CFL experience. It'd be great if they have a quarterback that they can develop behind Collaros, because you can only basically see one more year, maybe two, but it'd be nice if they could potentially develop the quarterback behind him. So I think that the organization has stepped up. It's going to be tough because all the other teams in the West have improved too. So at least to see that they're not resting on the laurels of what they've done the previous time when they went to 5 straight Grey Cups. They're trying to win once again. I like it.
I just love the fact that they went and got that Broxton out of BC.
Yeah.
I mean, the offensive line has, and listen, they were dominant during 1921 when they ran over everyone. It started on the offensive line. And Stanley Bryan is still a hell of a player. He's going to be 40 years old when things get going. I mean, there need to be a succession plan, and to have 2 tackles like that on the team, I think, put Zach in a great situation, and some exciting other pieces coming in. Receivers, Serezna on the defensive line. Some good work done early on. And it's really interesting as to just how free agency's changed a little bit in the CFL, that all of these agreements came together so quickly. I think there probably is an argument as to just ditch the tampering period and just say, go nuts, because it'll be somewhat anticlimactic on Monday when these are all officially announced.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's nice to see that everything has been proactive, not just by the Bombers, but by all the CFL teams. We settle in, with the players involved, and then the next thing, I guess, would be the rules. I heard from someone in the CFL, that maybe the 55-yard line isn't dead yet. So I could hope, let's keep the 55-yard line.
We won't have to change the name of CFL 110 in a year when we're getting at it for our 3rd season.
Just like, Elliot Friedman's 32 Thoughts. Wasn't it?
Yeah, from 31 to 32. Exactly. Scooch, always great having you on the program. What are you most looking forward to coming up in the Olympic Games as we get going in Italy?
Hockey. The hockey. It's going to be interesting. And especially how the goaltending plays for Canada and for the United States, because the way not that I'm blaming Connor Hellebuyck for the way the Jets are right now, but he's not winning games, and that's not Connor Hellebuyck. So I suspect that he may not be he'll be the starting goalie for game 1, but I'm not sure he'll be the starting goalie if they get to the gold medal game.
Well, it'll be very interesting. We always cheer for Helly except against Canada, and it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. I can't wait for it. Scooch, enjoy. We'll catch up soon. Thanks again for doing this today.
All right, go Canada, go.
All right. Oh, nice tarp. Nice
vintage.
Tarp. There's our pal Joe Piscucci. Give him a follow on X at Piscucci015. All right, we're going to bring in Patty. Tee up tomorrow's big Super Bowl special on WST winners. But hey, gang, do want to let you know, our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge are ready for an amazing season. Obviously, a lot of forest fires last year that cost part of the season. But they saved it all, and the Aikens Lake that anyone that's been there knows and loves will be back welcoming guests. They're over 75% booked for the upcoming year. So if you are thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing getaway where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. Go to aikenslake.com for more information on booking and availability for the 2026 fishing season. And I will mention that starting next week for a couple weeks, we're going to be teaming up with the HSC Foundation again. And you will recall we did an auction last year where you were able to bid on a trip to go up to Aikens with a guest and with myself. And we're doing it again. Shout out to Mark Larveld. He and his brother Wayne joined us last year for it. But starting on Monday through to their gala dinner, we'll have details on that, how you can bid, and maybe we'll be able to spend some time out at Aikens Lake. But for group bookings and more, go to aikenslake.com right now and get after it. All right, let's welcome in my good friend, Patrick Gregoire of coolbet.com. We are counting down to the Super Bowl. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., myself, Jake, Pat, and producer Connor Rabchak going to make some picks. Patty, we're right there. Patty, you a fishing guy at all? You ever put a line in the water?
I put a line in the water, but I definitely would not call myself a fishing guy. I'm more of a vibes guy in the boat. Make sure sandwiches are done up in the cooler. Make sure the cooler's filled with beer. But when it comes to actually catching fish, not much going on there.
That's why I need to get you up to Aikens.
Yes.
even the most green rookies, of which I was when I went there the first time, will be able to make things happen. Maybe we'll work on that for the summer. First off, before we do anything, thanks again. I will say the Coolbet contingent down in Costa Rica had an absolutely amazing time. I mean, the combination of such a cool world-class event in an amazing place at the end of January for people from Winnipeg is kind of a dream trip. And it was fun, but you had to be impressed. The boys even cranking out an episode of CFL 110 because of everything going on. The first, as you pointed out, the first ever live CFL show emanating from Central America.
Well, I'm impressed, man. Absolutely impressed. At my surprise, though, absolutely not. Wild. Some wild movement in the CFL, most notably for the Bombers, flexing their muscles. I guess, obviously, last year did not sit very well for the Bombers brass, and they're proving that, all right, we're back. Hosting the Grey Cup was nice, but they would much prefer to be in the Grey Cup. So, honestly, though, Huss, loved watching the clips. It was unfortunate. We had to have a crazy winter storm in Toronto the day that you were supposed to take off, but glad you guys got there. Glad you guys had a blast. And like I said, with all the wild weather that we've had in Toronto, I was feeling major FOMO. So next year, if we run it back, I might have to come with you guys. Because,
listen, I think that would be great. I know you're very busy on the lacrosse beat right now, but if we can make that happen, it certainly would be phenomenal. And I will tell you, folks, that, I mean, if you haven't played in our WST poker tournaments before, we'll continue running them on a monthly basis. Hammer is good. Hammer is permanent bounty on Hammer's head, and he's in for all of them. So, I mean, now that we're finished the kind of the program going into Costa Rica, we'll set up a new schedule. And considering the way we're continuing to grow it, we'll look forward to hopefully being able to do something else like this for either one of the other events or next year at this time as we continue to do it. But stay tuned to our socials and the show. We'll let you know. We usually do it midweek when the Jets aren't playing. And we'll set up a schedule for the upcoming months to let you know. You can kind of put it in the calendar, know when we're dropping another one of the WST tourneys, and come and try and take me and Remis and Hammer out and have a heck of a lot of fun. But thanks again to you guys for, like every Coolbet promo, I mean, they're all world class. I've been lucky enough to be involved in a few of them, and that one certainly was one. And now, of course, the timing of everything was great, Pat. We get to come back. The regular season mercifully ends for our hockey teams, and we get to dive in, or not ends, but at least the pre-Olympic break ends, and we're all now on the same team cheering on Team Canada. How jacked are you to get this best on best tournament going next week? I needed the break from the Jets, and I am all in. This is what we've been waiting for a long, long time, and of course, we were lucky enough to get a taste of it last year at the Four Nations.
Yeah, the taster certainly was like a little appetizer to the main course. Let's be honest. What you guys experienced in Boston obviously was unbelievable. The tournament itself was fantastic. Seeing the best on best is the best of the best. But we're talking about the Olympics. We're talking about the main stage, seeing all the names of the NHLers being the flag bearers for their country. Also just shows you the significance of what this is all about. And in the Winter Games, the hockey is the pinnacle. That's what it's all about. So I'm excited. After reading that piece by Connor McDavid, I was ready to run through a brick wall. This is great because we spend a lot of the year hating a lot of these guys that are going to be on Team Canada. And now we get to cheer from them. Now we get to experience what it's like about all these guys. And I'll be honest, it's definitely not ideal with some of the injuries and the roster shuffling. But I certainly think it's going to make things more intriguing with who's going to fill the last spots and who has filled the last spots, because I don't envy it, but I mean, there's a lot of really good spots or good options to round the roster out.
Let's just quickly take a look at it before it gets going. I mean, there are so many markets for the Olympic Games, at Coolbet right now. But the Olympic ice hockey futures have Canada as the favorite, plus 120, Team USA plus 215, Sweden plus 650, the Finns 13-1, Czechs 25-1, and the Swiss 30-1. Listen, there's only one way to go on this one, and that's with the chalk, the plus 120. But what is a fun market to get into, Pat, and I'll get your thoughts on it, is the tournament MVP. Now, we read that article, and as I said, kind of hard not to start at the top of that list with Connor McDavid. But I will say this, if you like Canada to win at plus 120, know how driven he is. 5.5-1 for Connor McDavid for the tournament MVP. Looks pretty darn good. McKinnon's at 9-1. You got Logan Thompson 17-1. Connor Hellebuck at 20-1. That sort of would be the path for USA winning a gold medal. And then Macklin Celebrini, Eichel, UC Soros, interestingly, Matthew Tkachuk, all 20-1. Matthews and Makar, 22. Makar's always an interesting guy because he has the possibility of getting so many points. He does so many things. I actually would make an argument that there's some good value on Makar at 22-1. But if we're envisioning Canada winning a gold medal, you're probably starting at the top of that list with McDavid at plus 550.
I really don't see a world where it's not McDavid or even McKinnon, to be frank. And, you're still looking at triple digits, but I think even McKinnon at 9-1, I think you're getting a little bit of value. But I just think that the all likelihood that if Canada is to win, it's going to be McDavid. But you do mention Makar at 22-1. Maybe that's a case where you sprinkle a little bit on Makar and then you act as if what your gold medal bet would be is with McDavid. There is a lot of really, really good markets. The team total for stage wins. You can even look at the, top tournament point scorers as well, top goal scorers. Maybe that's where you get a little bit more value as well. So, even the other team performance ones, the stage eliminations for other teams. So, of course, when you're looking at the big ones, it's hard not to go with the chalk pick, but certainly there is more than enough options for this futures market for you to have some fun away from just Canada winning it all.
Yeah, and you know what I'm thinking? I mean, obviously our focus tomorrow is going to be on the Super Bowl. But whether we have you and Jake tag team and come on a 3-man weave and even get Remo involved on the show, or maybe we crank out a WST winners maybe on Tuesday, the day before the men's hockey starts. It would be fun to spend a little bit more time as a group with all of our favorite picks, is because, as you mentioned, we've got top goal scorers and point scorers from all of the teams. So, I mean, if you want to just focus in on who's scoring for Canada, I mean, Nate Dogg's number 1 at 220, McDavid plus 250. Then you go to Reinhart, Celebrini. I mean, there will be some bigger numbers that I think will intrigue some people. And again, that's just for the men's hockey tournament. The women's hockey, I actually had a ticket today, which got paused because of the delay of that game. But all the individual games will be on. We'll be hitting those daily on the Cool Bet lines. But there is so much going on right now. And then, of course, we've got all the other events. Just looking at the curling futures right now, Great Britain is the favorite. I believe that's Bruce Mouat, who's been near the top.
Wagon.
The Jacobs rink plus 195. And strange things happen. I know in the mixed curling, the Italians hadn't lost. And they were plus 120. Like basically what Canada is in the men's hockey tournament, that's what Italy was in the mixed curling. And they got steamrolled today by Canada, who's up to 3-0 right now. So no shortage. If you normally just jump on and make a few bets on the NHL during the winter, the Olympics are here, and Cool Bet has you covered. Now, tomorrow on the program, 10 a.m., WST winners. Are we going to do the annual Super Bowl prop draft?
I think we have to.
Yeah, it was so much fun last year.
Yeah, we got to do it. We'll do it again. We'll keep maybe similar format. Like you said, let's get Connor to jump in. He'll be our fourth guy and we can kind of run through it. What did we do last time? It was, a player prop, a novelty bet, a total. It was pretty good. So we can maybe go over the if we want to go with that same You know, that same
format
that we did?
I'm looking at this thing from last year, and it's just like a kick in the nuts because, of course, it was the Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl.
Oh, I know.
And it's just taking me right back there to last year. But, yeah, our favorite touchdown score, a yards, receiver, receptions, or attempts bet, a novelty bet, and there's some beauties, a long shot, and a couple wild cards as well. So we'll all be putting together our favorite ones. We'll do that tomorrow at 10 a.m. live right here on the WST channel. I wanted to ask you about the line for the game, in that, it had opened at 3.5, and I think I got it on Seattle minus 3.5, like within minutes of it dropping. And within 10 minutes, it was at 4.5. It had been 4.5 all week long. The money line, pretty solid at minus 227, plus 190. And about 2 hours ago, I clicked on it. And for the first time all week, I saw it go to 4 for about 10 or 15 minutes. Now, it's seemingly right back where it was before at minus 4.5. And the money line, it's strange because the money line went from minus 227 to minus 240 or something like that. At the same time, the line was actually creeping towards the Patriots. So, I mean, for a game like this, I think there's different markets are having different action, favoring the Seahawks maybe to win, but more people coming in on the Patriots on the point spread.
Yeah, that's really the interesting thing.
It's back to 4 right now, just as we're talking about it.
I was just going to say that. So we are seeing a little bit of action. I don't think we ever see it come back down to that 3.5 mark. I think a lot of people have the same belief that I do. It's either Seattle wins probably by a score or maybe even 2 scores, or it's going to be Patriots in a nail biter and a close one in a dogfight where what we've seen throughout their entire playoff run here. I just think, and I know Jake's probably shaking his fist at the screen right now, I just don't think that – I get it. I understand the Patriots have not had to play the strongest of schedules. And especially, you even look at it in the playoffs. They haven't had to play strong schedules. They've had to go up against some pretty good defenses. So I will give them that. But they haven't played a team that is this strong on both sides of the ball. That's the only thing that scares me, is the fact that Seattle could put up some big points as well. I know the Patriots defense is proven to be one of the best defenses as well. So for me, though, I think it's 2 ways. It's either two game scripts. Seattle wins pretty handily, like maybe by 10 points, or the Patriots got one out and just barely won.
Yeah, I won't give too much away, but we've been talking about this game for 2 weeks. I do like Seattle. The thing that worries me and keeps me up is just Patriots voodoo. Like how the hell they are even here in the first place. And I'll say this, they went up against 3 top 10 defenses in the playoffs so far. Their offense has hardly done anything. Seattle's a top 5 defense, and I'm sorry, you're going to need to score some points if you want to beat Seattle. But strange things happen in these big games, and I got to tell you, Mike Vrabel is a freaking winner, and he does make me nervous. So tomorrow we will dive into all of our favorite bets in a bit of a draft competition tomorrow, 10 a.m. So join us if you want to talk extensively about the Super Bowl and crank it. And of course, if you haven't already taken advantage of the special bonus, gang, even if you've been a long-time pool bettor and you use the WST bonus when you first joined on, this week only, up until the Super Bowl, use the promo code WSTSB60, and they'll double your bonus up to $60. So you want to put in 60, you will get 120. Just use WSTSB60, and you have up until the Super Bowl to make that one happen. And a nice little gift for WSTers that maybe want to get on a few of the more fun props that they don't normally hit, or frankly aren't even booked usually throughout the season.
Yeah, we know too, there's a lot of folks that have taken the WST welcome bonus. And then we know folks that maybe right now they're more of NHL bettors, or possibly just they log on and just like to play poker. So this is an opportunity for them to wet their feet, wet the beak, and get in on some of the action of the Super Bowl. The thing that I love this as well, just a one-time rollover. You're not locked in to have to turn your $60 over 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's just a quick little rollover. You can have fun with a lot of these great in-game props, but as you know, almost 2,000 markets. That's not 2,000 bets, folks. That's 2,000 markets. So that's even more betting options than just the 2,000. And we're talking post-game, pre-game, Bad Bunny, halftime, Cardi B, Dave Portnoy, like you name it, Cool Bet's got it. My favorite bet right now, though, is of the novelties, and maybe I'm giving away a pick, although it's pretty chalky. Will Chris Collinsworth say, "Now here's a guy"? That's by far my favorite prop we have posted right now.
I'm staring down the Bill Belichick 2-10 game with Jordan Hudson at 2-1. I have to admit, do I think Bill's really too keen about being a spectator and watching the Patriots go back? Probably not. Do I think he has much choice in the matter? Also, nope. Probably not. So that's why I think that they probably will be there, and we'll find that out. Listen, just before we go, speaking of the NHL tonight, we do have, 7 games before the break officially begins. Starting it off with the Penguins and the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo a -125 favorite. Pick them between the Islanders and Devils in Jersey. Canes in New York to take on the Rangers. Carolina's -217. Ottawa -135 favorites in Philly. Nashville back at it tonight on the second end of back-to-back. They're in D.C. Caps -164. Preds +140. Panthers, Lightning. Panthers playing for their lives. They got the win last night, but it was in the extra frame against Boston. They only make up 1 point. They're 8 back. Tampa would love to put a final stake in the Panthers, but again, so many Olympians in this one. I'm sure both teams will most of the guys just hoping that no one gets nicked up. Tampa's -189, Florida +158, and the final game before the Olympic break is the LA Kings with, how about that, Artemi Panarin now in LA, taking on Vegas. Vegas -133. The Kings +113. Knowing that it would be 3 weeks or so before I had a chance to do another NHL ride with us, I've got one up. Just missed last night. We had 2 in, and the Detroit Red Wings didn't get it done. We've got a nice boost on this one tonight. I've been rolling with Buffalo for 2 months. We're staying with them. Buffalo at home against Pittsburgh. We've got the Islanders taking on the Devils. No Jack Hughes. Devils are kind of in Jets land right now, if you will. And Ottawa, they lost their last game. They'd won 4 in a row. Philly has been... Trevor Zegras is going to have the PJ locked up and ready to go. I am expecting the Ottawa Senators to be ready to go. So if you like Buffalo, New York, and Ottawa, New York Islanders, that is, it's +501 if you do it manually. It's boosted up to +576 right now in the combo cards, right at the top. So lock that one in, ride with me, and hopefully we can get a winner as we finish it up. Patty, always great having you on the program, and I look forward to tomorrow. Lots of cramming on the 2,000 markets at Coolbet before we fire things up at 10 tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got some homework to continue to do. I've been a lot of the in-game, the actual stuff that has to do with the game. I've done a lot of my homework. I'll be honest, I haven't done my national anthem yet. I haven't done any Bad Bunny research yet either.
Who is doing the national anthem? Do we know?
Charlie Puth, I believe. So I think it could be an over, considering he's a little bit of a showman, a real music savant. So I think he could be showing off a little bit in that one. But I did my research, Huss, for the coin flip, and I gathered this information. Tails never fails.
Hey, and that's a no juice bet as well. A cool bet. Even money on either side. So if you are a coin, if you like to flip a coin, you'll be doing that. It's +100 on either sides, so we can get that one in, and some nice value as opposed to most of the other plays that'll still take a -110 on the coin flip.
And Huss, before we get going too, just for folks, if you've been on our social over the last hour or so, tomorrow after WST winners on our YouTube page, the inaugural Cool Bet Challenge. It's a two-man scramble. Brett Lothar, CFL kicker, and Andrew Walker, one of our brand ambassadors, going head-to-head against Adam Svensson, PGA Tour player. So excited for that. If you haven't already, give us a follow, subscribe to us on YouTube. You'll see that premiere at 12 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. So right after WST, hop over to our channel, watch the premiere of that. It was down in Florida. It was a really fun project that we put together, and some shenanigans between those three guys, no doubt.
Our guy Svenny taking on a tag team tomorrow. That'll be fun. We'll head over, maybe do a little raid from WST winners over to the Cool Bet channel. But good reminder right now to give that a sub. You never know what cool content's coming up for all you cool bettors that support us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Patty, good luck cramming for the big show tomorrow. I will talk to you at 10 a.m. Central right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk tomorrow.
Thanks, fellas.
Right on. There's Pat Gregoire. Give him a follow on Twitter as well, at @PGreggy, and Coolbet at coolbet.com. All right, big show. Remo, just before we go, if we missed any big Olympic news, I guess there's no trades to announce, anything that we need to get to before the end of the program on your end, other than just, again, talking about how great the Ruben dog was last night at the Jet game?
Ruben dog. I'm going to be thinking about that throughout the Olympic break. We never touched on Gavin McKenna. That was the big news yesterday at the Jets game.
We talked about that off the top of the show.
He was charged with a felony aggravated assault following an alleged incident in downtown State College. Police say a 21-year-old man suffered a broken jaw on both sides, required surgery, but he's had his jaw wired shut. It happened on Saturday after Penn State's game, following an exchange of words. And then sounded like someone repeatedly heckled him and made comments about his mother and went back down.
I have a take on this. I've got a take on this. We know that this whole mother story, has that been reported by any legitimate big J's?
The one person I saw on X who claims to be a reporter did say that. Let me find,
because I guess here's my take on this. I mean, obviously you don't like to have a felony assault charge when you're potentially going to be the number one pick in the draft. So if I am the agent and this happens, what is the best case scenario in a plausible story for the reason that Gavin McKenna would do it? I would say the number one pick was abusing and harassing his own mother.
Mm-hmm.
Reportedly, it was at a bar. He's 18 years old. The drinking age is 21, so I'm not entirely sure how that checks out. I'm sure there'll be some details. Here's the altercation deals. So yeah, he throws two punches outside and ends the dude. I guess my point is on this. I know a lot of people are making a big deal out of it. It'll end up getting bid down to a misdemeanor. He might have to do some community service or something like that. He'll probably have to pay the medical bills of the guy that he did it to. I did see from Eric McNamara, the big thing is that, there might be some complications with a work visa at some point. But the bottom line is that if this is the case, that this guy's mom was getting harassed and he went and knocked this dude out, I don't think that will do anything but strengthen his draft position. If I'm an NHL GM, you're worried there's all these slick, really skilled, talented hockey players that don't have that bite. I don't think knocking a dude out for harassing his mom is going to harm his draft stock at all. And in fact, I think it might actually help it when the dust all settles.
Yeah, you know what would have harmed it? If he didn't knock the guy out and didn't break his jaw. They would say he's not tough enough for the NHL.
Soft.
Yeah, be soft. Yeah, so crazy story about the projected number one pick. As far as draft, I don't know where it ranks up there among draft things to come out before. Like you think of Laramie Tunsil and the video of him at the gas mask, bong mask. I don't know if this is on that level, but everyone was talking about it yesterday. A lot of theories and hearsay being floated around us. So we'll wait and see. We'll let the courts deal with it. I don't think anything is gonna. I'm sure he's got good lawyers and they'll figure out a way to resolve the issue. Like I don't think he's gonna get deported to the WHL here as a Canadian in the U.S. So we'll see what happens.
Listen, we'll have a big show tomorrow. Look ahead to the weekend in the Olympic Games. Jeff Hamilton's going to jump on with us. We'll look forward to see the Hammer. And, get ready for Team Canada next week in the men's hockey. Obviously, the women's hockey was supposed to get going today. We will get to that coming up as well tomorrow. So, going to be a lot of fun diving into the Olympic break. And I think we all, for our sanity, can take a little bit of a break from the local hockey team as the NHL break is officially underway. That is going to do it for us today, gang. Thanks to Pat. Thanks to Joe Piscuchi for coming on. Ken Weeb and, of course, Mike McIntyre joining us from Italy. He'll join us throughout the Olympic Games here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happy each and every day. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have yourself a wonderful night. Get outside. It's gorgeous out there. And we'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great night.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.